Welcome everyone to Health Coach TV. If you are someone struggling with dermatomyositis, an autoimmune chronic inflammatory condition, or if you are from Latin America, Argentina, tune in. This show is exactly for you. You are about to hear one of the most powerful stories that we've had, just a tremendous breakthrough. So welcome, Martita. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. So happy to be here with you today.
Awesome. Well, let me give you a proper introduction. Martita Ayup helps people with dermatomyositis and other inflammatory and autoimmune conditions to recover their energy and health naturally by getting to the root cause of the disease. After 15 years in academic science and 12 years helping others to heal themselves, she was able to synthesize and integrate body, mind, emotions, energy, and spirituality for a daily cultivation of health, mastering the human experience on a daily basis. She healed from this severe autoimmune condition after being close to death several times with a paralyzed body. She has been 15 years symptom-free now. She was born in Argentina and now lives in Vancouver, BC, Canada. Dr. Martita has her PhD in biology. She is an international certified health coach and an international yoga teacher, Pilates instructor. She's a lifelong learner. Many of you can relate to that. But even with all of her degrees and certifications, she's currently working on her next degree, her master's in autoimmune conditions using a functional medicine approach in Spain. So with all of that, a wealth of experience that I can't wait to share with our audience. Welcome, Martita.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I am blessed.
Yeah. Well, it has just been so great to get to know you, to hear more about your story, the amazing work that you're doing in the world. I know that people interview you all the time. You've interviewed others, but doctors are constantly having you on their podcasts. And so we are so blessed and appreciative to have you with us. Tell us, Dr. Martita, a little bit about what it is that you do now. Who do you help? What sort of work is it that you're focused on at the moment?
Well, now I mostly help people that are struggling with pain, weakness, fatigue from dermatomyositis and many other autoimmune or inflammatory chronic conditions to live pain-free with strength, energy, and regain their enthusiasm for life.
Awesome. And we certainly seen that you certainly walk your talk, and you've done that for yourself and guided so many more. It's such a blessing. What had you, tell us a little bit about your story. So I kind of just dropped a few seeds there at the beginning, paralyzed, close to death, all of that. Tell us a little bit about your story and how that brought you to the work that you do today.
Well, I was like a not common person in the modern life, like 24 years old when I was diagnosed with this condition, dermatomyositis. It was associated also with vasculitis and antiphospholipid syndrome. And it is a severe and very infrequent autoimmune condition that affects your muscles, joints, the skin, and the vasculitis produce inflammation in the blood vessels, and what makes your skin die. And also I had blood clots from the antiphospholipid syndrome. And yeah, the doctors were telling me that this was a chronic condition that could not be healed, that I needed to accept that I was going to live with like this and disabled for the rest of my life. And I believed that until I got to the point where really my body couldn't process more drugs. And I was not seeing any more improvement with them. And all that time had been like a year and a half on a bed without being able to move by myself. And really my life stopped completely. I was like a year left to get my degree in biology, and I didn't need to stop my studies. And yeah, then I really had, I was 3 times close to death. And the third one was like a turning point for me, like a deep awakening experience at ICU, when I was in ICU. And like connected with my body a lot, and I start having some certainties of what to do and what next step was what was the next step for me. And I learned that that's where the magic happens, and when the study is ready, the teacher appears. And I met this natural healer that helped me to awaken my body's own ability to heal. That is really what I did. And I learned, he also told me, the first person that told me, we are a body, a mind, and a soul. And I learned how to cultivate myself as a whole being, in my whole being. And 3 months after his treatment, I started walking again, like from my bedroom to the bathroom at least. And with the month, I was recovering. And yeah, this natural healer helped me to a lot on that. And it was a day-by-day thing, one breath at a time, like really learning so much from my body and its own healing power. I was really amazed. I am still amazed of my body. Yeah. And of course, it was a very deep experience for me. And I was already in biology, like, oh my, what is my body doing? This is amazing. So I started like researching, and this self-healing healing intelligence that we all have, an understanding why I got sick at the first place, understanding how to cultivate health, and also understanding the tools that we have nowadays, that there are conventional drug-centered medicine that is very good for some things, but not for others. And the fact that they say that this condition has no cure is because there is no drug that cures that. But it doesn't mean that you cannot heal from that, right? Yeah, so I learned that this man told me, if you are born healthy, that should be your chronic state. And we just need to learn how to make good health chronic. And that really was the turning point of my whole life.
Yeah, and I know that is something that you talk a lot about. That's kind of your big message, learning how to make good health chronic, and that even more of us should do that. And I feel like you were picked, not picked on, but picked and chosen for this path. I mean, to have your PhD in biology, to know it all up here, to know intellectually what to do, and yet be faced with a failing body. You were in bed for, I think, a year and a half. So imagine that, or if some of you are tuning in, listening, and feeling in that state, know that there's hope. Martita is living proof. And so to be there and then talk about, being on the front lines of this and like an immersive experience, and then having your own body and have to look at your own biology and work with that, that's just tremendous. So tell us a little bit about how did you you kind of gave us a little bit there, but tell us a little bit more about how did you go from being paralyzed to death, not moving, to really coming onto the other side of it. Tell us a little bit more about what happened.
Yeah, well, I can resume like in some tips after 15 years being symptom free and like learning how to cultivate my health daily and keeping in my best all the time. So I have learned a lot from my body. I of course worked on nutrition. I used another tools like fasting, and it just allowing to the body to do what the body knows to do, and stop interfering with that intelligence, that divine design, right? So this is so amazing because the body knows how to heal itself. We just need to stop interfering. And the one thing that is very important for people to believe and to know is that if we are born healthy, that should be really our chronic state. And that doesn't mean the natural aging or associating aging with disease, right? And that we also, for a true and deep healing, like going to the roots of your healing, we do that when we integrate ourselves in our body and allow our higher self to fully express. And of course, it is a process, but it's so enjoyable because it's a constant expansion of yourself. So it's like an evergreen joy. It's so enjoyable, this process of finding ourselves, of integrating ourselves, of being amazed about our body and our integration process, and seeing all your mind, your emotions, and your physical reactions dancing together in your human experience. It is really very joyful.
And the things that that's beautiful and beautifully stated. The things that you were suffering with are pretty common to a lot of autoimmune conditions. So muscle pain, joint pain, muscle weakness, overall fatigue, brain fog, all of those things. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are struggling with a lot of these conditions. Sometimes they have a name, a label attached to it.
That's a good point. Yeah, because
it's kind of all the same. And knowing that, and then seeing yourself go from, do a 180 there. Is that why you decided to become a health coach?
Yeah, that is a huge point, because you really don't need to wait to have a diagnosis. But we have all these markers in our daily life. We all know someone that has chronic fatigue or some thyroid problems, or bloating, or weakness. And these are things that are normalized in the modern life, but they are really very good indicators that you are having inflammation, and that you can work on that and be at your best, and not make that your state, your chronic state, right? So as I healed, and when I healed, I finished my degree in biology. I wanted to be a scientist. I started my PhD in biology. But as people get to know my story, first locally, then nationally, and they were very surprised. They thought that I was a miracle. And a lot of people start asking me for help. So I started helping others to do the things that I was doing, to keep me healthier, what I did to get out from the worst conditions. So after 10 years, like doing both things, academia and research and working with people, really people started opening my heart in a way, and like, oh my God, this is something great and so fulfilling, that people help me to find my purpose and my mission here totally. And then I quit academic science completely, and I fully dedicated to helping others, and to also keep learning and studying and getting these degrees and things to help others. I am very passionate about that and amazed by our biology.
I love it. I love it. And you've been able to help so many people. We'll talk about a few stories there, because those are inspirational. Your story is inspirational, but then the people you've helped also is. Tell people a little bit about how you work with people. How does that work when you're working with someone, with a client?
Okay. Most of the people that reach me has like between 30 and 60 years old, and they are suffering some kind of inflammatory condition, or chronic, or just fatigue, or they have tried a lot of things, and they start perceiving that they need to integrate or assimilate what all the things that they already did, and they are like dispersed. They need to assimilate their own experience. And they also try medical treatments, and looking for another ways to try to heal. So I walk them step by step through a program that I called From Inflammation to Regeneration. That is how I say, okay, this is what happened to me. I went from inflammation to regeneration. Absolutely. So I work with them very closely, primarily virtually. They can be in a group or individually with me. So it's easy for everybody and everyone anywhere. and there is a lot of accountability and support. But also they know exactly what to do to get from this inflammatory condition to really regain their health, their strength, their energy, their joy, their enthusiasm. And the most important thing is that we get results, and it is really easy and enjoyable, because some people said this may be so complicated to do. I know it's easy and enjoyable, and it's a huge transformation and an upgrade to start being in a different way in our lives.
Yeah, because I can imagine people are, kind of been, well, like you were given a devastating diagnosis and prognosis, and so you assume it's got to be complicated to get on the other side of it, and not necessarily. And we'll hear from you a little bit more about that. The other thing too is you're in Canada now, Vancouver, Canada, but you're originally from Argentina, and you have a lot of clients in Argentina, you have in Canada. And from my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you help people both who are English speaking and Spanish speaking. And give an example of some of the countries that some of your clients are in.
Yeah. I am blessed that I learned English since I was very little, 5 years old. So yeah, I love English. I enjoy the language a lot, and I feel very comfortable with it. So yeah, I work mostly with Latin Americans in different countries of Latin America. I am from Argentina, so I was very well known there first. So there are a lot of people following me there. I love my people, my country. So I love that I can help them. And also people from Uruguay, Chile, Brazil, I had some clients too, Mexico, Colombia, and Latin Americans living in North America also contact me a lot, here in Canada or in the US, people in Europe, people from Spain, some Italians too. We get to manage our language. Yeah. That's so nice, and I am so happy that with this virtual thing I was able to be a possibility for many other people beyond the local scale, right? Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. So, because some people might be wondering that. And so you have a huge global following and scale, and which is fantastic. So you're unique in many ways, and that's one of them. So you have your PhD in biology, Dr. Martita. You were paralyzed for a year and a half, bedridden, and you yourself had your own so-called incurable autoimmune condition, dermatomyositis, that you are on the other side of now. So from your perspective, got a great broad perspective, what is the biggest myth that you see people have when it comes to healing themselves from autoimmune and chronic inflammatory conditions, dermatomyositis, and so on?
Yeah. The most common thing is that they are like locked in the idea or the belief that this has no cure, because really medical doctors are an authority for people, and if a medical doctor says that, it's like he's right, but as you get to understand that is only because there is no drugs, that maybe in the future they find some drugs, but until now there are no drugs that can cure these kind of conditions. They can lower your symptoms, but there is not like a root healing from the root, right? So it's a challenge for the people to overcome the diagnosis. So we work on that, of course, a lot, but they start first understanding what things could have driven them to got sick, and then to learn how to make good health, and to let the body come back to health, because the body knows how to do that. The body wants to live, right? And when we cut our hand, it cures alone. We don't need to do anything. So it's just giving the body the right nutrition, the building blocks, all the things, the spaces that the body needs to come back to the homeostasis or this balance, right? And it's more focusing on making good health, cultivating health in a daily basis in an integrative way, not just food, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you say learning how to make good health chronic and then allowing that to happen. And I think that I love how you shared that earlier, and that really kind of sums it up. So that's beautiful, Martita. And the other thing is, the great thing is that the tough part is people are coming to you after they've already exhausted, generally speaking, all medical options. So you're not in any way saying, don't follow your doctor. No, the
Of
people
course.
you're helping already did, and they're out of options. So
Right.
if there was a better alternative, good. But for the people that you're helping, they're like, sorry, there's nothing that we can do for you. And in a way, that's a blessing, because I mean, that's awful, but it's also a blessing. In other words, all right, if there's nothing that you can do, then that kind of forces you to say, what can I do? What is it that I can do? And it's really inspirational to know that you and others that you've helped are a testament to that. There actually is, there are things that you can do. And so I really love how your approach and that, and tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how do people actually heal? How does that happen? Like, what does that mean? Because it seems like it's impossible. So how does that actually happen?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the best part. First of all, thank you for clarifying that, because we are not against drugs and conventional medicine. The conventional medicine helped me to stay alive when I was very bad too. But yeah, drugs have some side effects. For example, I lost some hair because the drugs affected my follicles. But the real healing comes from an integration process. We need to integrate, and it's not just about nutrition, but it's the best place to start. Of course, food is important, and we need that for the biology of our body. But to really heal from the roots and stay health and cultivate health is to align ourselves with our higher self, like in alignment in body, mind, emotions, energetic body, my spirit. So it is mostly a shift in perception. What can I say in a few words? It's really a shift in perception, that what is the most important thing, and that is what I mostly help people to do. While we play with food and we start exploring everything, but we start practicing the perception that I am an integrated being, integrated self. So we practice that daily, and I love to be there daily with people. I really honor the daily process, and one breath at a time, one day at a time. There is no rush. Yeah.
That consistent, positive baby steps forward. Yeah, excellent. What are some tips that you can share with our audience? I usually like to give them something now. They might be in sort of a desperate state, kind of point them in the right direction. What are some things that, tips that you can share if they are struggling with autoimmune and conditions, or are sort of where you're at? So they're already doing what they're doing, but what are some tips that you could share from your perspective that might be helpful?
Yeah, first of all, to address the simple things, and because we have the tendency to look for the complex things. If I have something so complex, I should need a very complex solution, otherwise I am not going to succeed. But just addressing the simple things, you won't need any other complex thing mostly. And if you need something else, it would be like a very little percentage.
Yes.
And the thing that you will need will be more effective if you have already addressed the simple things, like drink water, sleep well, moving our body, working in the energetic body also, and nurturing the body in a whole sense, right? And then realize that we are animals, and align with our nature laws, our natural laws, our evolution, what we have been evolving to, and understanding the context of modern life in an evolutionary window, and respecting also our unique biology. To know it, we need to know the basics, because we are in charge of this vehicle, right? And connect with our body. I love to teach people, because I have taught in the university for 12 years, and I am a natural teacher, so I love to teach people how our body works, and I am so passionate about that. But for example, our circadian rhythm, so amazing, and also circadian eating, circadian fasting, and like having this eating window, knowing what the functions of the body, of the organs, the liver, what does the liver do when he's digesting, and what does the liver do when he's not digesting. He's doing a lot of other things. So respecting these natural laws and this natural functioning of the body, right? That sometimes modern life takes us out from there. And nourishing ourselves consciously and mindfully, from starting with real food, whole foods, working on our emotions and our stress, thought, nurturing from love, reaching these peace states, knowing how to become the authority of our internal chemistry, really, and choosing how we want to feel at all time. We can choose that. And it's like I come from ecology and systemic ecology, so I said, focus on cultivating your inner ecosystem, because we are an inner ecosystem. We are an ecosystem. We have a lot of species living in us, a lot of microbes, viruses, some fungi, a lot of organisms, more than human cells. So take care of it, understand the dance of these organisms, that is an evolutionary process that we are the result of, right? And when you address that, everything else falls into place naturally, and it's not pushing or doing a lot of work or a lot of effort. It can be easy. We also need to believe and open the possibility that this can be easy too, right? Doesn't need to be so complex. Yeah.
Excellent. I love that. And I love, the excellence that you embody, both from the science background, but also nature, like embodying both and all of it all together in one. I really appreciate your unique, excellent perspective. So before we wrap up, one of my favorite questions to ask is spin-off benefits that you've seen with your clients. So a lot of times when we're working with people, you might be helping them with inflammation or something like that. But when we improve that, all sorts of things in their life can improve, and there can be some unintended positive side effects, spin-off benefits that you've seen. Share with us, like maybe, one or two stories or examples of things that you've seen of benefits of working with people and what can happen.
Absolutely. That is so amazing and so fulfilling to see the process of the people living this, because when the inflammation goes down in their bodies, they are very focused first on their most uncomfortable symptom, but then they start realizing a lot of things, and they start getting like more energy. Their mind get clears. They manage their emotions better in their daily life, in their relationships. They live more from an equanimity, peace. They feel joyful with no any special circumstance. They feel more joyful all the time, and they start perceiving their presence and how it is to live in presence, which changes their perception, right? So I don't know, people like I had some woman that she had this condition too, dermatomyositis, and she was when she get to me, she was, before she met me on Instagram, she was thinking about dying, and she really wanted to end her life, because she was so exhausted and not having answers. And I was a hope for her. And yeah, after doing all the program, a month after we started, she started walking again like me, and then she naturally fall into what she wanted to do. She was started to be more committed to life and to, I have this project, I want to help others. She also had like a son with some disabilities. He was very dependent on her. So a lot of areas of her life started improving, and she told me, oh my God, this is much bigger than I imagined, you know. So their human experience starts expanding beyond the known, or the limits that they are perceiving, and that is so huge. They really upgrade to their new version in life and how they want to be in life. And when they do that, their biology changes automatically, and really the symptoms go down, the diseases go away, or we can manage that their little rest symptoms that they have very easily. So yeah, and it's so exciting and emotional to see these processes
Yeah.
occurring. Yeah,
And to have her go from like you could really relate because she was wanting to give up on life,
yeah,
and I think she was bedridden like you were,
yeah,
and to go from that, and then of course not working if you're bedridden, and then to find her renewed purpose and working again. So
yeah.
uh,
And that comes also from mental clarity and
yeah, yeah,
do.
she function and do that, and then to have a special needs child, um gosh, she can barely have enough energy to take care of herself, let alone a child, especially with special needs. So as she's stronger and has more energy, I mean, it's one thing to have her be healthy, but the spin-off benefit, she can be there and take care of her child too, and have purposeful, meaningful work. I mean, that's incredible. I think you met there was another woman who, you weren't trying to do any career counseling or anything like that, but once they have some improvement,
Yeah.
tell us a bit about her.
Yeah, I had one girl with cancer that she was feeling so weak and fatigued when she reached me. And of course, we started working on her nutrition and all the parts that we know. But I felt that she needed to be more engaged with life. So we started focusing on what lights her up, and what was her hobby, what does she likes to do, and she loves to cook healthy sweet foods. So we focused on that because she was very disease centered all the time. All her waking hours were to be looking at the disease and at the drugs and the treatments. So she started working again, and at the beginning she could only cook half an hour. She could half an hour, then she started moving more her body, doing Pilates, and she started having more energy. She started cooking more and more, and we started working on her business and what the bureaucratic things, researching together. And she would forget about the disease completely, and her cancer markers, start going down naturally. And she's now focused on her business. She feels great with a lot of energy, and yeah, I still work with her. I have been here with her more than a year, and her journey is a blessing for me.
Yeah, it's so incredible. Your story, initially, probably when you ventured out in with an interest in biology, you had no idea how deep into biology you were going to get, and you're continuing on in that. And I just so appreciate you for the love you share, the light you shine. It's just a tremendous blessing. Thank you so much for sharing your wise words here. If people want to connect with you, and I know that yes, you had dermatomyositis, but for example, this client with cancer, like you help people with all sorts of conditions. But you have this one main approach that works extremely well, and it gets right to the root of it. So so you do have some areas of expertise, but when you get right down to it, there's a lot of it that's all the same, and then you customize. But how can people connect with you, ask you questions, follow you, find out more? I know you share much information on Instagram, for example, and are doing interviews all the time. Doctors are asking you to do interviews. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much for your appreciation. I appreciate that. I appreciate your appreciation. And the best way to contact me is like through email, info@martitaayup.com. And yes, I am very active on social media, mostly in Spanish. Some posts I do in Spanish and in English, but the Instagram lives are still mostly in Spanish. But yeah, you can find me there on my website, www.martitaayup.com. And yeah, you can find there also I have a quiz for inflammation. You can check your inflammation levels. You can contact me, but the quickest way is by email.
Awesome. So I'm going to spell your name. So your website is your name. So Martita Ayup. So MartitaAyup. So martitaayup.com. And so on Facebook, let's do Instagram because it's mainly Instagram, but also on Facebook, LinkedIn, social media. But on Instagram, it is Martita, MartitaAyup. So that is probably the best way. So check her out either through her site. You can connect her with her there, or through social media. You can follow her and ask questions. Well, thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you on this call.
Thank you. Thank you. I love you. You know that. And thank you for having me here, having this amazing time with you, sharing my story and letting myself fully express here. So thank you.
It is an absolute pleasure. Well, that is it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Martita is absolutely amazing. Check her out and find out more about her. You will be very, very pleased. So that's it for this episode. If there are other health conditions or questions that you have, feel free to pop that in the comments. We would love to feature an expert in that area of health. We have access to a global group of healers that are absolutely heart-centered and amazing, and it is my honor and pleasure to showcase them there for you. But also feel free to like and subscribe for more Health Coach TV interviews and episodes. So with that, have a fantastic week. And of course, be good for you.